Okay, we're back. So last night I was reading some articles and I came across this Steemit article, but this isn't the original post. So I followed the source to Reddit and then the original source here on Pastebin. So let's go ahead and read this. And when I read this, it kind of made my heart drop because so much of this has already happened. And it's kind of scary how big this actually is. Traders, certain information has come to my attention that is causing me grave concerns, and I feel it is my duty to warn each and every one of you. We all know the scaling drama has caused a huge rift, resulting in Bitcoin forking into the soon-to-be Bitcoin Cash. I know many have large holdings and savings in Bitcoin and are holders and will never sell, so when the selling starts, you may lose everything if you don't also sell. Gentlemen, this is certainly not going to be gentlemen. Certain information has come to light from backroom channels, sources I cannot disclose. Even writing this post will probably reveal my source. But I feel by God's will, I must warn you all. Selling is coming, selling the likes of which hasn't been seen since Mt. Gox's era. Already as I type this, battleships of Bitcoin are being shorted on all major exchanges. Gentlemen, the enemy, the big blockers, have colluded and joined forces. The Chinese, Jihan, and Co. have put together a plan to replace Bitcoin with Bitcoin Cash. The plan goes like this. And by the way, this article was written, first posted or published July 30th, 2017. So if some of this hadn't happened at that point and it's happened now, then that adds credibility to what this person is saying. And I don't have much sources for this, but we have this down here, and it was just posted by a guest, so a random person that did not disclose their identity. Other people have tried to take credit for this article though, and it's been posted all over the internet, and it's kind of almost went viral. So the plan goes like this. Chinese miners, F2 Pool, Ant Pool, etc., have organized with major exchanges to support and launch Bitcoin Cash. Initially, they will let everyone who wants to sell. And did this not happen? Did we not have a window of like a month of Bitcoin, just Bitcoin Cash just sitting there going down slowly, everyone's selling, and then it spiked up when people least expected it. So initially they will let everyone who wants to sell. Once the coin has bottomed out and everyone who wants to sell has sold, they, Chinese miners, Jihad, Chinese exchanges, will begin accumulating lots and lots of Bitcoin Cash. And maybe the Bitcoin ban has something to do with this, China Bitcoin ban. And there's going to be lots of attacks on Bitcoin in the coming days, and there already has been. They will begin to pump the price to around 0.1 Bitcoin or 10%. Well, guys, it's about 10% right now. And it just hit that 10% a couple weeks ago. So this person would have basically predicted the future or have known some insider knowledge. The big pools won't mine it. They will let the smaller pools see the returns from mining this expensive but low difficulty coin and start mining it. Later, the larger pools will join, and as we know, Jihad has a lot of hashing power. Their plan is for Bitcoin Cash to have more hashing power than Bitcoin. And let's be honest, once the Chinese move over, that is pretty much it. Around this time, the hard fork section of SegWit2x is not going to happen. Wow. See, I had some suspicions that that was done on purpose, an attack to Bitcoin and also to help Bitcoin Cash kind of rise up as the savior. It never was. Bitcoin Cash will then be seen as the original NYA coin. At that point in time, Bitcoin Cash will be on all major Chinese exchanges, possibly some Western exchanges as well. And we see over here, all exchanges now have Bitcoin Cash, all Western exchanges. They don't all have Bitcoin Gold, but they all have Bitcoin Cash and have majority hashing power. Western companies and other merchant providers, BitPay or @Spare, etc., paid off by Bitmain, etc., will go along with the new Bitcoin Cash narrative and will push for the new Bitcoin Cash to be called Bitcoin on all their platforms, leaving only Coinbase, etc., all which will then be the odd ones out. So their ultimate goal is to replace Bitcoin Cash's name with the original legacy Bitcoin name. And we've seen that with all Rogerverse speeches. Lately, this rings true. Now comes the scary part. The old Bitcoin, the Bitcoin we know and love, is going to get destroyed. What determines a coin's success? Its market cap. Big old school blockers and miners are going to dump Bitcoin back to the bottom. They will take literally billions and billions of dollars out of Bitcoin. They will use the money to fund the marketing and development, or Bitcoin Cash. Think Bitcoin Core fired. Think Forbes article, why Bitcoin miners and companies are moving to Bitcoin Cash. Think why the market is choosing Bitcoin Cash as Bitcoin, not Bitcoin Core. And so these are all articles, big articles, that are meant to manipulate the way people look at things. And ultimately, these guys are insider trading. They will say the market has spoken, that people have voted with their money. Meanwhile, it's just them. It's them piling up a big amount of Bitcoin because they see originally in Satoshi's white paper that majority of the market needs to move over. So they're buying up majority of the market, or basically taking it, and manipulating the market so that they can have majority share and most of the hashing power, and then they can actually replace Bitcoin with a more centralized currency. And Bitmain has millions of dollars to fund this project because things like Bitcoin Gold will put them out of business. So this is actually, Bitcoin Cash is a more centralized, more owned. It's more owned than any other, well, at least more than Bitcoin. And it gets very, very interesting when you see all of these things actually happening in the world. Right now, massive, huge shorts are being built. Already on Finex, or Bitfinex, shorts are 32K. Not seen since $200. These kinds of numbers are shorts, and it's climbing all the time. Consistently, they have a lot of coins to short. And we just covered a story where someone did a short of $10 million on Bitcoin, basically betting on it to fail. Was this someone that knew some insider knowledge as to what's going to happen here? Maybe they just made their bet a little bit too early, because it's all just a waiting game, and it's all about the timing. A lot of these things happen, they just don't happen when we expect them to happen. A lot of these things that we predict to happen, you know, they aren't locked to a time frame. Right now, massive, huge shorts are being built. Okay, the most painful kind of selling is where it never bounces. And if you remember Mt. Gox from $1,000 to $70, you'll remember what no bounces feels like. And I can tell you, this won't be any better. And I could see it dropping from 10,000 to 700. If it dropped this percent before, it can do the same. So dropping from about 10,000 to 700. I don't know when they're going to pull this off. It seems like they want to get as much money, get Bitcoin to rise as high as it can before they do this, so that they can take as much money out of Bitcoin as they can. So maybe they're waiting for 10,000. Just keep your eyes open, and if you see things to start move towards this direction, then just safeguard yourself. That's what the point of this is for, to educate everybody so they can see the big full picture and then make better decisions based on that. A lot of people are wondering if they should sell some of their Bitcoin, and this will help them make that decision. So good luck. Remember, fair warning. Below I also have some Slack and Telegram logos. I will sort them out later when I get back. I just want to confirm what I can safely disclose first for my own protection. Email from Alice to Bob. And let me know in the comments below what you think about this article and the person that wrote it. If you caught anything that I didn't catch that gives you clues. Now we're going to look at some stories on the interweb and see if, you know, it kind of coincides with what we just read. Roger Ver, I hold the majority of my crypto coin wealth in Bitcoin Cash. And we know he has a big chunk of the marketplace. And why the hell is BitPetite still being shown on CoinJournal? These guys are very slow on the train. They might not know that BitPetite is gone with everyone's money. On a recent episode of The Crypto Show, longtime Bitcoin angel investor and Bitcoin.com CEO Roger Ver, who has been referred to as Bitcoin Jesus due to his early adoption and advocacy of the technology, shared his thoughts on Bitcoin Cash, which is a cryptocurrency that forked off from the Bitcoin network in August of this year. So during the interview, Ver discussed the need for cheaper transaction on the Bitcoin network, the possible reasoning behind Bitcoin's price rise, and the fact that he now holds more of his cryptocurrency wealth in Bitcoin Cash than Bitcoin or any other cryptocurrency, because he knows something that we don't know. And what I think about this is that Roger Ver, you know, he's a dude with a good heart, or at least he did have a good heart in the beginning. And when you have a good heart, you can get caught off guard because you think everybody else has good intentions as well, and you think that you're doing good when sometimes you're doing bad. So I think that Roger Ver initially thought he was doing something good. Maybe he got offered a lot of money we see that money has changed Roger Ver, and how becoming successful changes anybody and they get corrupted. It's just how it is. It's so hard to not get corrupted when you're a big player, when you have power, because people want to use that power and they corrupt you, and sometimes you don't even realize it. And I think that's what's happening with Roger Ver. And I think maybe he consciously has some guilt about this, or he knows he's doing something wrong, but he's justifying it to himself that he's doing something good. And maybe he can't turn down the money he's being offered by things like Bitmain, because it's one thing to talk bad about these companies when they're making all the money and you're not. It's a whole nother thing to talk bad about them when you're part of the group and you're getting some of that money as well. So you know, you're no longer an outsider, so you no longer feel like they're the enemy. You feel like you're part of the group now. And I think that's what's happening with Roger Ver. And it's saying here, still early days, but Ver is confident Bitcoin Cash will overtake Bitcoin. And this is exactly how he speaks. He says that, I can't wait till Bitcoin Core dies, so I no longer have to refer to it. He says that he's putting all of his resources from Bitcoin.com into Bitcoin Cash. He's also put the default wallet on Bitcoin.com to Bitcoin Cash wallet, kind of sabotaging its users so that they lose their money when they think they're sending to a Bitcoin wallet, and then realizing, oh, Bitcoin made me lose money, I'll switch to Bitcoin Cash. We also saw people like Craig Grant have their transactions blown into pieces and attacked. So these big public figures, people in the public eye, their Bitcoin is disappearing and being locked in the Bitcoin blockchain. And we see that when a lot of people put a lot of energy and hashing power into trying to clog up the network, they can slow down transactions on the Bitcoin blockchain. So and maybe ultimately make them stay there forever. So there are some things that can be done to make it difficult on Bitcoin users, and all this has been coming at full force. So we have articles all over the internet. Probably half of them are paid for, but Roger Ver declares Bitcoin Cash to be a true Bitcoin. Market forces bring more attention. Market forces being their own forces. Recently, massive price gyrations between Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash have given rise to the suggestion that Bitcoin Cash should be taken more seriously in the marketplace. And this is an amazing article, guys. So stay tuned for this. This was posted by Whale Panda, and goes a little something like this. Roger Ver, from Bitcoin Jesus to Bitcoin Antichrist. Right? He's being seduced by the devil. Roger Ver, the delusional guy that lies more in a single day than Mark Karpels did in his entire life, is at it again. Releases good faith call for transparency and open dialogue. Complains that someone leaked it. Yep, that's very hypocritical. Complaining that his info got leaked, but wants transparency. Introduction. Most of my dear readers have probably heard about Roger Ver, otherwise you wouldn't read this article. But maybe not everyone knows the full story. Roger Ver was born in the US, moved in 2005 to Japan, bought a St. Kitts and Nevis passport, and renounced his U.S. citizenship in 2014. Roger is also an ex-convict. He was sentenced to 10 months in prison for selling explosives on eBay. Those explosives were illegal fireworks, which doesn't sound that bad, but imagine you or someone in your family being a delivery guy unknowingly carrying or delivering illegal fireworks. Sounds a lot worse now, doesn't it? Critics might say that it was a long time ago, since it was in 2002, and he was young and stupid. All this might be true, but I think it's important to paint the complete picture of how he thinks and acts. He was an early investor and adopter in Bitcoin. His website was one of the early ones that accepted Bitcoin as payment. According to some well-informed people, his total worth was around 400,000 to 450,000 Bitcoin back in 2014. Of course, since then, he has funded some Bitcoin companies and probably spent a good chunk of it. And this is another motive for what he's doing and how he got, seduced by this beautiful money. He's used to being rich. He had this rush and this high of having a lot of Bitcoin and being rich and being powerful. But then he spent a lot of it and probably made some choices he regrets. Now he's desperate to get that Bitcoin back. And we see with Bitcoin, there are a lot of people trying to take your money just because of how valuable it is. And so maybe he got scammed a couple times as well. And once you get scammed, you kind of get cold and you start to want to get people back, or you start to want to get even and get your money back by whatever means. If someone can do something as low as stealing from you, then it justifies your actions to do something negative just to get your money back. The block size debate. I know that this is a boring topic and it has been discussed a million times, and a million times Ver has been proved wrong, but I'll give you the TLDR. Ver wants an immediate block size increase so everyone can pay for their coffee with Bitcoin with no fees. He doesn't realize the impact that has on decentralization, blockchain bloat, processing of blocks on nodes. Bitcoin Core wants to work on a substantial solution, potentially later a block size increase, but first there has to be work done on efficiency. Roger is a broken record, saying that people have stopped using or investing in Bitcoin and switched to altcoins, never providing any proof of this statement. And if people stopped using Bitcoins, wouldn't that mean that there would be more room in the blocks? And it's pretty obvious when you go to CoinMarketCap and you see Bitcoin's at number 1 that this is not the case. This is what he's trying to convince people and trying to change people's minds to think. So he's literally trying to brainwash you. We must stop the free market. If you take even a second to think about it, if we would increase the block size now to 2 megabytes, everyone would realize it would be full again immediately. Lots of exchanges and other sites need to learn to optimize their processes so they are more efficient when it comes to handling Bitcoin transactions. Which is very true. If you have 1 megabyte blocks and they're full, once you switch to 2 megabyte blocks, they get full too. You might need less transactions, but they're still going to be full blocks. The idea behind is that Satoshi, in his white paper, said that Bitcoin is a peer-to-peer cash system. The idea behind it is great, but that was written almost a decade ago, and Satoshi wrote it before the current Bitcoin ecosystem was built. They will argue that Satoshi hinted at block size increase himself in one of his later posts, and that might be a good idea after the optimization. This is the very short version, but that's where it started. Bitcoin XT, Bitcoin Classic, and Bitcoin Unlimited. If you run a full node and support bigger blocks so more people around the world can use Bitcoin, install XT today. So he was promoting Bitcoin XT back in the day as well. As well as some other of the early forks that didn't catch on. Now his strategy is way more aggressive. Bitcoin XT was created by Mike Hearn and Gavin Anderson in an attempt to aggressively increase the block size to 8 megabytes. Aggressively. So maybe they're doing it aggressively again, but they're planning it out and strategizing a little bit better. Roger Ver supported it. It never caught on. Around the same time, he started complaining and blaming censorship on Reddit for this failure. Bitcoin Classic was the next attempt. Instead of increasing, maybe people don't want a fork. Maybe people want to use the Bitcoin. You ever thought of that? Maybe that's why it failed. Bitcoin Classic was the next attempt. Instead of increasing it to 8 megabytes, they now tried to argue that 2 megabytes was a good idea. In March 2016, they managed to get 7% of the total network hashing power to support them and that was it. So they've learned over the years, what they need to do better when trying to take over Bitcoin. The most noteworthy achievement is that in a very desperate attempt, they tried to set up as many fake nodes on AWS as they could to try to look more popular as they were. For the record, you can run as many nodes as you want. If they're on AWS, they're extremely centralized and basically useless. So we see how he solves problems and how he behaves when he's trying to do these things. So it's no surprise that he is trying to make Bitcoin Cash look bigger than it is when he did it before with Bitcoin Classic. So total nodes is in black, Bitcoin Core nodes is in yellow, Bitcoin XT nodes in blue, Bitcoin Unlimited nodes in green, and then Bitcoin Classic nodes in purple. So we see total, Bitcoin Core, and then the only higher one was Bitcoin Classic that had more nodes than the other forks. So Bitcoin Unlimited is the latest soon-to-be failed attempt. This time they tried bribing. Bitcoin Unlimited received $500,000 donation, and now additionally there is a $1 million grant for alternative implementations. I think this kind of falls under the bribing part that I will discuss later. It is important to note who are the main supporters of bigger blocks or Bitcoin Cash. Roger Ver, Jeff Garzik, founder of Block, which is focused on private blockchains, so not decentralized but privately owned. Blockchain.info, Ver invested in it. Coinbase, burning through VC or venture capital money and desperately needing an excuse as to why they're not growing fast enough. Bitmain, closely working with Ver for a while. And via BTC, and anytime you hear that, that's also Bitmain that has disguised themselves because Bitmain is too well known as the evil player. Let the experts do their thing and test everything properly. I will leave you with a tweet from Peter Todd on the subject. So, example, if competent devs wrote a block size increase, good chances happen. Hasn't happened because anyone competent seems to understand rushing that is dumb. So Bitcoin Core, the original Bitcoin legacy chain, it is slowly evolving and slowly being more efficient, and it will and can increase the block size in the future. It doesn't necessarily have to happen right now, and they're rushing into this because they probably see a window of opportunity to take over Bitcoin, as well as they see things like Bitcoin Gold, Bitcoin Diamond, things that are about to take Bitmain out of business. And so they're rushing to create their own weapon. Censorship. My kingdom for less censorship. This is another favorite subject of the little Roger who cried wolf. He complains that there is too much censorship on Reddit's Bitcoin forum. This started after Bitcoin XT was launched. He blames Bitcoin Core for supporting it and being against free speech. Well, guys, Reddit is one of the most open places on Bitcoin you can go. So they would not be censoring Bitcoin. Obviously, people did not care about Bitcoin XT. He blames Bitcoin Core for supporting it and being against free speech. Bitcoin Core obviously has nothing to do with it. It consists of 60 plus developers, of which there are 8 to 10 that are doing most of the work. So he's blaming it on Bitcoin Core because he's trying to paint Bitcoin Core as the bad guy, when really he's the bad guy. They are the bad guy. And you'll see this with any bad guy. Anybody that's doing wrong will feel guilty about it, and then they'll blame other people for doing wrong or exactly what they're doing that they don't feel comfortable about. You hate in other people what you hate in yourself. They are focused on developing and are way more active on the public Bitcoin mailing list than on Reddit, as they should be, since they are developers and not community managers or PR people. Roger claims that since they have not actively taken steps in removing Demos, it's all their fault. So besides being a whiny little kid about he took over our BTC, I must admit I'm a huge fan of Bitcoin Classic. Join the uncensored discussion at reddit.com/rbtc. Wow. He's a big fan of Bitcoin Classic. And then he did the same thing with Bitcoin Cash. He tries to create the community where everyone's going to get their news, kind of a bait and switch. You know, you bait them with thinking they're reading real Bitcoin news, and then you give them Bitcoin fork news saying that they're going to take over Bitcoin, getting everybody to sell and move into Bitcoin Cash. And he needs this for his plan to work. He needs people to follow what they're doing and to believe that Bitcoin is going to fail. So if everybody stays in Bitcoin and does not buy into Bitcoin Cash, it will fail. So you have your choice here, because it is a community consensus. So you do have a voice, and your voice is basically your purchasing power. And it's sad that people have louder voices because they have more money, and this shouldn't really be the case. And I don't think this was how Satoshi Nakamoto envisioned it. And he's saying that Bitcoin Core is very far from what Satoshi's white paper wanted it to be. It's become very, very far away from his original plans. Well, I think that's what he means to be saying about Bitcoin Cash and not Bitcoin. Unless you point out that he's wrong, that one of the mods was a scammer or anything else they don't like, then your post would get removed and you would get shadow banned. Now that they opened up the moderation logs, it has become more subtle. Voting bots vote up every comment made by Roger or Oliver or Jansen in seconds and vote down any comment made by someone on their naughty list. Yeah, and this is definitely, bots are all over Reddit, and they've also moved to Steemit like crazy. And Steemit is supposed to be a more decentralized version of Reddit, and it definitely is. And so you can find your news there as well. And yeah, the bots have a lot of power on Steemit. The bots have a lot of power on the cryptocurrency markets, as well as they play a big part in, I guess, this. You can create more bots that will do what you say than people will do what you say. You know, you can convince bots something just by writing it in their code. It takes a lot to convince humans of something. You have to brainwash them, and that's what they're trying to do. This is classic dictatorship. This is classic control. Everything Roger Ver in the beginning said he stood against is what he's become. But this is part of, you know, the human evolution. You have to become your worst enemy, your biggest nightmare, so you can realize how to not be that. And this is part of Roger Ver's life lesson. And I do have, you know, a lot of confidence, or used to have a lot of confidence that he will fail. But you have to take this information into account, and how a lot of this is coming to be. So before you check out Reddit's BTC, though, I have to warn you to wear protection, or you may catch something nasty and lose all hope in humanity. 90% of the posts are being whining about blockstream/block size. Wow. This is bad, guys, that he has infiltrated all these avenues, and that gives them more power to actually pull this off, guys. It could actually happen. I don't want to believe in it, but you have to consider it as a possibility. Censorship and moderation is necessary to some extent. Even 4chan is being moderated and posts are being removed. This is the internet. This isn't utopia. And right now we're having huge government weight on tech companies, big tech companies, because they're no longer just a place to go to get your news and get entertained. They're political avenues for changing the world and changing people's opinions. So when, you know, something is being said against the government, it's removed, and there's a lot of weight on these tech companies right now to be banning things and removing posts that are not politically correct or not of a certain political view. And that's a big problem on the internet right now. Censorship. And we see that it's happening with the person who says censorship is bad. And this is a wolf in sheep's clothing, guys. This is exactly what a wolf in sheep's clothing looks like. And this is how you know to watch for them, and how you know to recognize them. People that have Roger Ver's traits. And who knows, maybe my channel's going to get attacked now that I'm talking like this about him, but really, at the end of the day, I don't care. People who support the suppression of certain Bitcoin opinions online can't be trusted to preserve Bitcoin's open financial network either. That's very true. I would not trust Roger Ver to run my financial institution or control my money, that's for sure. 1.5 months later, but there are a lot of people that are being, brainwashed. So just because I wouldn't doesn't mean other people wouldn't. Because Samson Mow is bad news for the entire Bitcoin community and should be fired from BTCC for his actions on social media, myself and many other CEOs have told Bobby Lee this privately. It is baffling that Bobby would let such a person be the public face of his company. He is a true disgrace to the entire Bitcoin ecosystem. Someone's words about Roger Ver. Bitcoin opinions shouldn't be suppressed unless they go against mine. Then they should be shut down immediately, and people should get fired. The Chinese mining connection. In the beginning of this year, we had the Hong Kong meetup in agreement. A couple of Bitcoin core devs had a meetup with a couple of Chinese miners to discuss scaling. This was heavily criticized by Roger Ver on his Reddit forum and other Bitcoin Classic supporters, since they felt left out, even though they were being invited. A few months later, however, Roger Ver went to China, did exactly the same, and acted like it was completely normal. So this is very common for Roger Ver, doing the very exact same thing he criticized someone for. The only person that he managed to turn was Jihan Wu. Jihan had been very critical of Bitcoin Core and said that he felt pushed into the Hong Kong agreement, even though I didn't see any guns or other weapons that forced him. Another couple of weeks passed and suddenly Via BTC is born, a completely new Chinese pool that out of nowhere has around 7 to 8% of the global hash rate. It has been spewing out Bitcoin Unlimited propaganda on Twitter and on Medium posts and has been mining Bitcoin Unlimited blocks. Maybe this is where Roger spent the last of his money to recruit Jihan and probably spent it all in these projects like Bitcoin Unlimited that fell through. Now he's desperate. A new pool coming out of nowhere running an alternative implementation is very suspicious indeed. It was pretty clear that this was part of another push by Ver, who this time works together with Wu. Before he was against him. They have mentioned that they will only accept SegWit as a hard fork. Meanwhile, Bitcoin Unlimited, not having any capable devs, is not planning to implement SegWit in their implementation, thus trying to block scaling. Bitcoin.com, the propaganda machine. Roger Ver owns Bitcoin.com. It's that simple. Be very critical of any news related to articles on that website. Some of them are decent, and others are just pure propaganda for Bitcoin Unlimited / block size increase, and some are just PR pieces for one of the many companies Roger invested in. So this is an older article. It's talking about Bitcoin Unlimited, but it gives us a lot of information about what has happened in the past leading up to this Bitcoin Cash. Or they're just PR pieces for one of the many companies Roger invested in. In a desperate attempt to monetize the website, they made an online casino on it. If you go to the Bitcoin.com wallet page, this is what you get to see. Select the type of wallet you would like to use. Bitcoin Unlimited. Now it's Bitcoin Cash. Bait and switch, guys. That's all bait and switch. Bitcoin.com and the default wallets. Bitcoin Cash or Bitcoin Unlimited. You got to change your website name, bud. And he said he wasn't changing his website name anytime soon, confirming the fact that he is planning to rename Bitcoin Cash as Bitcoin. A bit odd since a small minority uses it. Oh, but wait, that's the one Roger Ver is pushing. Now it makes sense. Haha. Bitcoin.com also has a mining pool which runs Bitcoin Unlimited. How could you have guessed? But sadly, no miners are interested in mining on his pool. How would you change that? The Roger Ver way, of course. Bribe. Because he has money, right? He got into some money and, he basically got it for free. So now he feels like he can do whatever he wants by bribing people. He's learned that that's his power. It's all he has for power is his money. An example of how a core supporter intentionally misrepresents the truth to support his position. Recently, I was invited to a Telegram group with a bunch of miners in Venezuela who were mostly interested in switching to Bitcoin.com pool and Bitcoin Unlimited. One of them was a staunch core supporter though. I was explaining to them how the Bitcoin.com pool currently pays several % more than at least some of the other mining pools. This one person claimed that this was impossible without buying hash rate from someone else. So I explained to him how I can pay any amount of Bitcoin I want without buying hash rate from someone else. You can find the chat log here. Then intentionally took the part where I simply explained how it would work and claimed I said I was going to do that. So Roger Ver. The pool mines 12.5 Bitcoin per block. I add 12.5 Bitcoin of my own Bitcoins per block mined to the payout. Now the pool pays out 25 Bitcoin per block without buying any hash rate. There's your proof. Yep, so he knows exactly how to put his own money in the pool and bribe people with it as payouts. Roger Ver admits he will put money from his own pocket to buy hash rate for his pool. So when you start to take all these pieces of information and put them together, you get a clearer picture, right? He's a liar, and unfortunately, some lazy journalists. This is Roger Ver's words. I'm pretty sure in this, grayish color, and then this is. So it's Roger Ver talking about how he feels so hard done by because someone took what he said and said it's what he said. So you can call it buying hash rate, or you can call it a bribe. I call it a bribe. He's allowed to, of course. Just says a lot about him. Avoid Bitcoin.com. Roger Ver and the alts. This is a fun one because Bitcoin was so popular that no one was using it anymore and everyone was running to the alts, as Roger mentioned. He was pushing his believers to some altcoins, including Ethereum and Monero. I'm not going to read that. It's getting long, so I'm going to try to skip some of this. That was when Bitcoin was $550. At the time of writing, Bitcoin is $750. Monero price is at a loss. And it's very, very far away, the 500 million to 1 billion that he predicted, even though we are now in the next few months. That combined market cap of ETH and ETC was greater after the fork. Means the market viewed it as a good thing. A lesson for Bitcoin? No. Okay, whatever, Roger Ver. The market cap before was 1.1 billion. The market cap afterwards was 1.2 billion. The combined market cap is now 920 million. But again, Bitcoin was a lot lower back then. Ethereum price, whatever. So Roger Ver, general ignorance versus blatant lies. In the long term, raising the block size limit will likely increase the number of full nodes around the world and increase decentralization. Too many people using a product is a sign of its amazing success. Hashtag Bitcoin. Now he's attacking Bitcoin. Before he was saying it has amazing success, and now he's saying, oh, no one uses it. I agree. Let's see what you say 1 month later. Large firms are choosing to postpone involvement with Bitcoin because there isn't currently capacity for it to grow. Funny, eh? So I'm going to try to just scan through this real quick, the rest of this, and I'll put these articles in the description so you can check them out yourself or underneath this video. So despite paying the recommended fee, my 23,000 payment has been unconfirmed for merely 12 hours. Bigger blocks now. So he could be trying to slow down these transactions, which I think is a huge possibility due to the fact when Craig Grant's transaction of 50 Bitcoins got blown into pieces, and basically he blamed it on the war on Bitcoin. This tells you that, you know, these guys are attacking Bitcoin and making transactions stay on the network. And, you know, that happened when Craig Grant had that happen. It happened right when the SegWit 2x fork was canceled, right around then. So all these attacks on Bitcoin at once, and all these reasons for people to move their money into Bitcoin Cash. Bitcoin's failure to scale quickly has caused the highest transaction fee of all coins. This is driving users to altcoins. I think Roger Ver may have something to do with the high fees. If that's possible, then he would definitely try to do something to make those fees higher. That's really how it works. A lot more money in crypto and a lot more interesting projects. If Bitcoin is in a bear market, money flows to alts. Bigger blocks equals more transaction capacity, equals more users, equals higher price, equals more valuable block rewards, equals more miners, equals more success in diverse Bitcoin. So yeah, we'll just scan through this a little bit. Conclusion. A couple of months ago, I was talking with a Bitcoin developer. He claimed that he had a source close to Ver that said he was starting to lose it. His recent actions are just more proof of that. The lies, the bribing, he is like a cornered animal, but one with a lot of money. You know, and a lot of money does make you start to lose it. That's why I don't want too much success. You know, a lot of people might think, oh, I want to, you know, run one of these companies, have an ICO. It will tear you apart. It will stress you out so much that you might learn a lot from it. But to try to be the best, you're going to get attacked. You're going to get, you know, it's going to affect you and change you. And that's what it's done to Roger Ver owning these big companies. So you can donate to this person if you like the article. He's donating it all to charity before Christmas. You know, and I've never seen Roger Ver donate any of his millions of dollars. But meanwhile, he's crying, you know. He wants to see the world a better place. And that's what he did in the beginning. He cried. So here's some people's comments. Hi, I'm a regular person frustrated with the recent shit on this guy attitude everyone has for each other. But lately seems even more focused on Roger Ver. Roger is also an ex-convict, so are a little of hundreds of millions. So this guy's defending Roger Ver. And that's totally fine. If you guys like Roger Ver, honestly, I kind of like Roger Ver myself too, and I did before. It's just, in light of these, this recent information, you know, it's kind of like, if people saw Bitcoin was going downhill, and they still kept and held it, you know, that is them being naive. You know, I see these new actions of Roger Ver. I'm trying not to be naive about them and trying to, you know, put them into their place and help make a better educated decision. Now, I'm not against Roger Ver. I'm not against any of this stuff because I feel like if I'm against it, I'm just as bad as them. So I send Roger Ver my love, and all of you my love, and this was not meant to attack anybody. I'm just reading and sharing with you my observations. We see here, there's some tweets about Bitcoin Cash. So Roger Ver has, he put this this voting poll, and I just voted myself because there's only 4 options. So he says Bitcoin Cash has outperformed Bitcoin Core over which of the following time periods? Hint, it's all of the above due to the following Bitcoin's original economic code. So he's asking you to do a poll, and then he's telling you what to put as the answer. So a lot of people put all of the above. Hint, you're very good at manipulating, people, and he should be a psychologist. So I put last week because it's the closest thing to never. And then I wrote in the comments, why is there no never? Right? If you're unbiased, why are you... so here's a Bitcoin Cash fund site now launched. Oh, we support this Bitcoin Cash fund site. You probably created it, buddy. Knowing what other information we have on you, and we've seen you, other actions we've seen you do, I wouldn't be surprised if you created that. I'll do my best to use Bitcoin.com to educate the world about how Bitcoin Core is no longer the Bitcoin that was described in the original Bitcoin.org website or in the Satoshi white paper. I don't really need to say much. I don't need to put my 2 cents in there. And sorry guys, I was trying not to for this video. It's just so hard. I don't need to put my 2 cents in there because you guys see it too. Anybody that has their eyes open would see it, and if you don't, then there's no point of me, trying to convince you of it because you're not going to see it if you already haven't seen it. So this is his, depiction of Bitcoin Cash. So we have Bitcoin here, SegWit hijacking, SegWit plus Lightning. So he's saying it's got hijacked. Meanwhile, Bitcoin Cash is the hijack. Cannot everybody see that? So he's saying the SegWit 2x fork stops there. The SegWit 1x Lightning stops there. And then Bitcoin Cash keeps on going. Bitcoin Cash preserves Bitcoin prior to the SegWit hijacking. Oh, we just preserved Bitcoin. This is a huge way to manipulate people's minds to see Bitcoin or Bitcoin Cash as the real Bitcoin. That's all this is. So, we preserved Bitcoin. Not we tried to create something to replace Bitcoin. No, we preserved Bitcoin. So then he says, Bitcoin Cash continues forward, fulfilling Satoshi's original white paper as functional Bitcoin. I can't believe it's come to this, guys. But this is the world we live in. We take a decentralized project, but we place it in a society, in a world that is very controlling and very centralized. And then it becomes one of the biggest wealth stores and most valuable assets in the world. Now we have people trying to control it and take ownership of it. The same people that have been controlling, censoring, manipulating things, these same types of people have not, left this earth. We have just placed something outside of this earth, or that came from outside of this earth, or not of people of this earth. We placed it into this earth, and then people of this earth tried to take ownership of it. And this is what we constantly see. People have egos. People want to own things. So, this guy's being convinced Bitcoin Cash is Bitcoin. Yay! Guys, I don't know if it's just me, but I'm not convinced. I'm not convinced, especially with all this, recent information that's come to light. So that's all, guys. I'm going to stop right there, and we'll catch you next time. Please share this video if it rings true with you. Peace.